Hello and welcome back to the What is K-pop podcast, in which I usually talk all things K-pop in like a general K-pop sense, but today we're going to be talking about LGBTQ representation in K-pop and a little bit about how that kind of area of my life has affected me. I don't really know how to explain it, but we're just going to kind of get into it. So if you are kind of new to K-pop and you're just kind of like coming across it, they're not very known for being supportive of the LGBTQ community, but things are improving. So there have been a few idols who have come out, but not too many. So we have obviously when Bain from Just Be came out, it was kind of talked about a lot more with an article from Korea Boom, which I am going to be referencing. So GA from What's Up, she debuted as a member of that group in 2013 and then remained a member until 2019, which was when they disbanded. And then the next year, 2020, she came out as bisexual and was in a relationship with a woman at the time, has made her solo debut. And I don't know if they're still together, but you know, she's still in the industry. Like, things are slowly improving. Som Heaven, it's also known as Som Haein, was in Idol School but eliminated before the finale. And she's made a solo debut and came out as a lesbian. And that she was in a relationship at the time, but they have broken up after only a year of being being together. I couldn't speak just then. Avicii, who had made his name under the name Hansol of Top Dog in 2013, has come out as asexual, which for anyone who doesn't know, I would consider myself as asexual, but also kind of questioning things at the moment. I don't know where I fully stand on anything. And he actually came out in 2017, which is surprising. Like, I'm sure he was probably the first idol kind of, or like person publicly in Korea to do so. And like, obviously there was a bloke in like the 1990s whose name I've completely forgotten, but like recent and since the development of like being able to come out more openly. And obviously we have Cat's Eyes Lara, and she came out, well, officially this year, but like I feel like we always kind of knew, and that like she was a bit concerned that her sexuality would affect her being able to debut. And like people who debuted openly now, like acknowledging the fact that they were queer, is Holland, QIX, Lioness Lady, and Choi Han Bit. Do you just want to? Sorry, I'm also like doing research. Holland debuted in January of 2018, and his real name is Go Tae Sop, and he chose his stage name because that was the first country to legalize same-sex marriage. Apparently, he attempted to audition to join an entertainment company, but no company wanted to work with an openly gay artist. So he worked part-time jobs in order to fund his own debut single. That's like the unfortunate like thing is that they don't want to work with them. Like, maybe perhaps not out of being homophobic themselves, but because society was homophobic. Or it could just be that they were homophobic, I don't know. But things are improving. And the fact that, like, you know, Just Be's Bain, like an artist who is actively working on a tour and is like doing relatively well, I would say, and like able to still appear on, hopefully, on Korean TV shows is like really important. And it's like, yeah, we can actually do this. Like, we can like be represented in media. And I know for me personally, that it's really, really cool that like we are getting to a point in 2025 where we feel more comfortable with just acknowledging it and it not being a massive deal, if you know what I mean. Like, yeah, it is definitely cool to have that representation, but it isn't, the main reason. Like, it isn't like the headline thing of that, like, just be the group with a gay member releases a single. It's like just be releases a single. Oh yeah, and they also have a gay member. Like, you find that out, and you're just like, that's cool. Like, and if like a little kid finds that out, and it's like, well, I'm gay, and I want to be a K-pop artist. Like, I want to do that, and now I feel like I can because Bain from Just Be was able to do it, and like Holland was able to be a solo artist, and he. I don't think he's like as popular for his music. He's more popular because he's gay. And like, that's an unfortunate thing, and I hope that, like, if he does get more popular, that he is able to not necessarily shrug it off, but kind of, he's more known for his music rather than his sexual orientation. I feel like that's more like comfortable way of saying it, sexual orientation. And like, Cat's Eye is known for its music, and it's like, oh yeah, and Lara is also openly queer. And we know from the other members that, like, apparently there have been like tinges of the possibility of Megan and Manon having girlfriends. And I know, and like, apparently Daniela, well, not apparently because I know she did it, but like, they had a live stream where they happened to, like, the comments were saying about how I think it was also lesbians or also queer, and Daniela was like, oh yeah, I'm coming out as a straight person. And I was like, I just found that so funny, because like, there are going to be those comments, unfortunately, as well, with like members of groups whose other member did come out. They're going to be kind of roped into that and saying like, oh, are you also queer and stuff? And it's like, well, no, not everyone in a group is going to be the same sexual orientation. Like, when you have, let's take 17 for example, there's 13 members. There is absolutely no unequivocal way that everyone is going to be heterosexual. And there's no way that they are going to all be straight. There is just no way. Obviously, we don't know that they are or not, and I'm not pegging anyone as being anything, because they've not publicly come out and said it. But the likelihood is, out of 13 people, some of them are going to feel a different way about people than the norm. And even in NCT, especially in NCT, because there's like 26 of them, or 25, I don't know, I can't remember anymore. The group is just full of drama. But like, there are going to be people who are gay or bisexual or non-binary or like pansexual, or I don't know any of the other kinds, maybe even trans, I don't know. There's gonna be so much representation. It's just being able to have a community and being able to build a community where we feel like as though we can say it and it not be this like massive issue or this massive news story, if you get what I mean. Like, it's cool that it was that like the Bain stuff was out in the media and that it was announced. It's like, it like, in the future it should just be like in a profile it should be like, oh, I'm also gay, and that be okay, and that isn't like the front page of the Daily Mail. It could just be like the third page of the Sun. Well, maybe not the Sun, but like maybe the Daily Mirror. I don't know. I don't know like the rankings of English newspapers, but like, even though it is important that it's revealed and that we know, it should just be something casual that we don't really make a big deal out of when we start to learn about people's sexual orientations. If you catch me, Tokyo Drift. And obviously not everyone has to reveal things. I've not really said anything about how I feel about people, mainly because of the fact that I just can't be bothered, and also it doesn't really affect anything. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, now I feel like I can live my truth. Like, yeah, I'm absolutely sure that like revealing that has improved your life. I'm not saying anything against that. I'm sure that Lara and Holland and Bain and girly pop actor bloke whose name I've completely forgotten, they feel like they can be a lot more open about stuff. I've never really felt like that because I've always been so able to just talk about just random stuff and make, jokes that, like, I'm sure if someone picked up on it, they would be like, are you are you not straight or something? Like, or are you like, are you ace or are you bisexual or something? And I was just like, oh yeah. And it not become this like massive thing or like an event, like, oh yeah, I'm coming out the closet, I'm gay. This is like, you can't make those jokes about me anymore. Like, those jokes have never really come up for me. So I'm just able to admit that my celebrity crush is Ning Ning from Esper and it not, turn into this thing of like, you something. Like, do we need to have this discussion? Do we need to change stuff? That change has never really happened because the straight conversations never started. It's always been like slightly more queer coded, I guess you could say. But yeah, I think that's it for the good old discussions about idols. And on to, I guess, like one of the more serious topics, I guess you could say. It isn't like bad. Well, it is kind of bad, but I would recommend that anyone, if you can, listen to it, and feel free to listen to the story. I'm not going to say anything that might be triggering, just to clarify. But, I feel like I need to share it. So when I was about 11, obviously it was like 2015. So it was before my birthday. It was when I was in year 7. And back in the UK in 2015, gay and coming out and doing, like, and kind of having those, having that information out. I don't know how to explain it, but like coming out and stuff was very protected, I guess. Like, if in school you came out to your teachers and any person who said anything that might be considered as homophobic, those people got absolutely raked on the coals, which is fair enough, don't do that. But it was like, people couldn't have any sort of discussions about their own sexualities if they were anything other than LGBT. Like, you absolutely couldn't, and like, you would be told off. Like, you can't say that sort of stuff. You have to be supportive, which is fine. It's like water under the bridge. It was 2015. It was a decade ago. Things have gotten better, and obviously I didn't understand that because being 11, I didn't really have much free reign access to the internet, and I did, but I didn't go into that sort of stuff. Like, I hadn't been exposed to anything to do with that, given, my parents, and also it wasn't something I was terribly interested in. It didn't come up on my radar, so I didn't know how to approach a conversation in that sort of realm. And so I was in the changing rooms of my school, and this isn't like, it isn't, I didn't get attacked, like, physically, don't worry. And I was just sitting there kind of getting prepared to do PE. This sounds really bad. My God. Like, listening to it back, I'm just like, oh wow, this could have gone so many different ways. I was just sat there, and this girl who I knew from my primary school and this girl who she'd become friends with were just talking. And the girl that I didn't know fully, her brother is gay, which, I mean, nowadays, 2025, I don't care. Like, honestly, I'm just like, okay, cool. Good on you. I hope you get some I don't know. Like, it isn't something that I like ever acknowledge. And I just happened to pipe up during this conversation, oh, I'm straight. Obviously, like, I'm not. I was never straight. Just put that out there now, as never. And this girl that I didn't know, she completely went off, and it was horrible. She said some really awful things, and like, luckily I don't remember the exact details of it now, but she implied that her brother would find me and do stuff to me, an 11-year-old girl who didn't fully understand the ramifications of the conversation that was going on, and who didn't even relatively say anything that bad, was basically being told that she was going to be attacked in a very disgusting way that no one should ever have to go through. She was implying that I was going to be basically by her brother, if we're just going to put it out there now. Like, she was implying that, and like I didn't even react really to the whole thing. Like, realistically, I should have said something. Like, even if, back then it wouldn't have garnered any reaction, I should have said something. And obviously I don't really care now. It's been a decade, life happens, things move on. But 11-year-old me, she didn't understand. Like, honestly, I didn't even think I even did anything wrong now. I just said it, and it wasn't even that big of a deal, If I was to go to, like, a gay club and, I was straight, I feel like that would be fine now, because it's like we're just going to a club where a lot of, like, people go, and, I would consider myself part of the community, but I'm also an ally. But if I was straight and just went as an ally and just, was going to have a little bit of fun, a club, and it was like a gay club, that would be fine. But back then, it wasn't, because, people who aren't a part of the LGBT community, they can't be in those spaces, which is fair enough. You should be able to have, like, we should be able to have our spaces, but we also shouldn't be, like, segregating people, I don't know. And I think if that situation happened at, let's say, like 2019, when things were better, I definitely would have said something, and I think they would have been a lot more consequences, but I didn't. And obviously there are things nowadays that I can kind of see happened because of the situation. Like, when I was 10, so only like a year before, I remember thinking to myself, I would love to know what it's like to kiss a girl. Like, all I could think about for some reason was kissing a girl, and knowing what my first kiss would feel like, and knowing that it would be with a girl, and kind of having a relationship with someone. And like, I've always had girl friends, like friends who are girls. Like, I've never been interested in boys. I've tried to kind of, like, talk to people who have had relationships and kind of know what it's like, and like, watching people have relationships. But I've never really been into that sort of stuff. And it was when I was 16, actually, and doing research for health and social care, that I came across asexuality. And I was like, oh, I mean, I guess that kind of suits me. Like, I was even talking to it about, I can't speak about it, to one of my non-binary friends who I've since not friends with anymore. I don't talk to them. And they were like, oh, you can get into specifics if you want to, but you don't have to. And, that kind of was really, really nice of that. Like, I wasn't being othered. This was like 2020, 2021 times. So, like, being that and just having it as a random little conversation, it wasn't being like this sacred conversation, was really, really nice. And I think if, as a 11-year-old in 2015, hearing that, I feel like it would have healed that part of me, being like, oh, there's a name for this, and there's a name for those feelings, and it's okay to feel those things. It isn't wrong, it isn't anything, it isn't, anything to be ashamed of, and you also shouldn't be scared to feel those things. Like, I should have never had that experience, but I did. And I don't even when it happened in the changing rooms, I told my sister and my mum. And obviously I hadn't mentioned anything about feeling any way towards girls. I still haven't now. They were obviously rightfully concerned, but nothing ever really happened because it wasn't known about. When those things happen, it can really affect kids. When the straight person just randomly says they're straight, in front of people who, are supportive of LGBTQ people in the time before, acceptance was really okay, that they were being lambasted and then they would have feelings afterwards. Like, I almost had to push down those feelings. Well, I did. I had to suppress those feelings and those bad kind of feelings that I did something wrong when I didn't. Technically I was wrong in my own sexual orientation, but that was the only thing I was wrong about. I wasn't wrong for saying what I said, because at the end of the day, I was just responding to a conversation. Like, I shouldn't have been told that I was going to be attacked for saying anything. I don't know. I can I can kind of joke about it now and like talk about it now. I even talked about it to ChatGPT, the wonderful AI, and I was trying to like downplay it, and obviously it's like a generative conversation. It responds to my energy, but it was really nice kind of having that validation of just like, actually that situation wasn't okay. And it's okay to not be alright with the situation, because I can't resolve it. It's an unresolved situation. I can't get closure on that and like tell that person, actually no, you were wrong for saying that. And also I feel a completely different way now. Like, I've done work and stuff, and feel completely different to the way I did as a kid. Like, being reassured that, like, I'm not that person anymore, and that situation didn't, like, I didn't deserve that, was actually really nice. And to kind of understand that, I didn't do anything wrong. The only person that was in the wrong was that girl. That girl that didn't actually know me. And, obviously the person who I'd gone to school with, like, for not being like, well, isn't that a bit too far? You can't really say that. It was a different world at the end of the day, and I don't know. It was just so. It's one of those events that is so strange that I almost kind of forget that it happened a lot of the time. But then when it does kind of crop up, I'm like, oh yeah, like actually that did happen, and that was a horrible situation, and I didn't deserve that. And you know what? Secondary school was horrible for a lot of different reasons, and that was one of those horrible reasons. I'm sure if I mentioned it, stuff would have kind of happened, especially like later on, maybe even like 1 or 2 years later, I'd have been like mentioned it, and there would have been some level of consequences. But because of when it happened, things were different. And I don't really hold anything to it at all. It was one of those things. Yeah, I do hope that that story kind of helps in some way. That, like, it is okay. And that, you are supported. Like, you can find that support if, your parents don't exactly support you or your friends don't support you. Someone will. You just have to reach out. And someone, like, reach out into the darkness and someone will grab your hand. I think my mum has just arrived back, so I'm going to have to go. But I do hope you enjoyed this Pride special. It's coming out on the 1st of June, which is in a week's time. So I do hope you enjoy this month of being ourselves. Queen, we love it. But yeah, thank you as always, and I will talk to you guys again very, very soon. Bye!